Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As Shaykh al-Hadith Zakir Rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions the hadith narrated from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anhu, radiallahu ta'ala anha, in a Tirmizi Sharif, that she said that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not eat till his full from the roti made from wheat for 2 days on the trot, hatta qubid, until he passed away. In his commentary, the Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions the Imam Ghazali Rahmatullah alayhi in his Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin lists 10 benefits for staying hungry. We went over 3 of them last week. The first one was that the heart is purified. The second faida or the benefit is that the heart becomes soft. The third is that a person becomes humble and meek. And the fourth that he mentions is कि अहले मुसीबत और फाका ज़दों से गफलत पैदा होती है, से पैदा नहीं होती. He says the fourth benefit of remaining hungry is that a person does not become unmindful. He doesn't neglect those people with difficulties and who are hungry. Yani he thinks about them. पेट भरे आदमी को बिल्कुल अंदाज़ा नहीं होता. A person who eats to his full, he has no understanding of what the difficulties of other people are. कि भूखों मोहताजों पर क्या गुजर रही है. That those who are hungry and those that are in need and poor, what's going through them. Hazrat Yusuf ala Nabiyyina alayhi salatu wassalam से किसी ने अर्ज़ किया. Somebody said to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam कि ज़मीन के ख़ज़ाने तो आपके कब्ज़े में हैं. That the treasures of the earth are with you. फिर भी आप भूखे रहते हैं. Then in spite of that, you still stay hungry. Then Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, he was made the Aziz of Misr. He was made the minister of Egypt, and he had the control of the treasures of that land. But even in spite of all of that, he would probably fast and stay hungry. So somebody said to him that you stay hungry in spite of this. Farmaya, he said कि मुझे ये डर है कि खुद पेट भर लेने से कहीं भूखों को न भूल जाऊं. He said by me staying hungry, by me filling my stomach, it may not be the case. It may be the case that I may forget those who remain hungry and don't have enough to eat. और भूखे के प्यासे रहने से क़यामत के दिन की भूख और प्यास की याद भी ताज़ा होती है. And he said that by remaining hungry and by remaining thirsty, then it freshens and reminds a person of the hunger and the thirst on the day of judgment. हक़ ताला शानों के अज़ाब का खौफ भी पैदा होता है. He also said that the fear of the azab and the punishment of Allah Almighty is also created from this. ये भी याद आ जाता है. He also remembers कि भूख और प्यास की शिद्दत में जहन्नम में खाना क्या मिलेगा. He also says that a person then remembers that by staying hungry and by staying thirsty and the severity of this Jahannam mein kya na kya milega, then he thinks that what food shall he get in Jahannam. वो जो हलक में अटक जाए और पीने को क्या मिलेगा जहन्नमियों के जख्मों का लहव पीप. He says that what shall they eat in Jahannam that will get stuck in their throats. हलक में अटक जाए, that gets stuck in their throats. और पीने को क्या मिलेगा, what shall they be given to drink in Jahannam के जख्मों का लहव का लहू or peep, that it will be the blood and the pus of the people of Jahannam. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says that the fifth benefit of remaining hungry is कि पांचवा फायदा जो असल और अहम है, which is more important, गुनाहों से बचना है. That person then, he safeguards himself and he is prevented from carrying out sins. कि पेट भरना ही सारी शहवतों की जड़ है. He says that the fulfilling and the filling of one's stomach is the root of all carnal desires. और भूखा रहना हर किस्म की शहवत को तोड़ता है. And by staying hungry, a person is able to bring all types of desires, all types of carnal desires, all the base desires. आदमी के लिए बड़ी सआदत ये है. He says that he is fortunate for a person कि वो अपने नफ्स पर काबू रखे, that he controls his nafs, he controls his carnal self. और बड़ी बदबख्ती ये है, and it's quite unfortunate, greatly unfortunate, कि इसका नफ्स उस पर काबू पा जाए. A person's nafs and carnal desire takes control over him. और जैसा कि सरकश घोड़े का बुखार रख कर काबू में रखा जा सकता है, in the way that a horse, that sarkash, and it's a horse that's not coming under control, it's a wild horse. By keeping it hungry, a person is able to take control of it. और जब वो खूब खाता पीता रहता है, and when it's the fact that he eats to his full, he drinks to his full, तो सरकश हो जाता है, then he becomes wild. इसी तरह नफ्स का भी हाल है, and in the same way the nafs is as well. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, he likens and he gives the example of the nafs and a person's carnal self to a wild horse. That a wild horse, any rider that comes and tries to ride on it, it picks his front two legs up and he throws him off his back. He doesn't come under any control. He doesn't let anyone saddle it or put a bridle around it. So he says that by keeping the horse hungry, must be a way, by keeping the horse hungry, then he's able to take control of the horse. And by taking control of the horse, they're able to saddle the horse, put a rein on the horse, and then ride the horse. So in the same way, a person's nafs is like the wild horse. That if he keeps filling the nafs with if he fills himself up with food, all the luxuries of the world is given. There's no mujahada, there's no qurbani, there's no sacrifice that's given. Then the nafs doesn't come under control. And when the nafs doesn't come under control, then his ta'alluq ma'Allah and his connection to Allah becomes weak. He then continues, he says, एक बुजुर्ग से किसी ने पूछा, somebody asked one of the pious people, कि आप बुढ़ापे में भी अपने बदन की खबर गिरी नहीं करते, यानी कुछ ताकत और कुव्वत की चीज़ें खाने की ज़रूरत है. He says that somebody said to one of the pious people that in your old age, is it not the case that you don't look after your body in this old age? You know, as you start getting older, your bones start getting weak, your muscle mass starts decreasing. So they're hinting that you should eat things that give you strength, that give you mukawwiyat, things that give you strength physically. वो फरमाने लगे, the बुजुर्ग began to say, the pious person said, कि ये नफ्स निशार की तरफ बड़ी तेजी से चलने वाला है. He says the nafs, it hastens towards become active very quickly. It hastens and hates and moves very quickly in becoming very active. मुझे ये डर है. He says that, you know, he's doing mujahada. He says, I'm fearing कि कहीं मुझे किसी गुनाह की मुसीबत में ना फांस दे. He says that I keep it weak and I keep going through riyadat and sacrifice. That it may not be the case that later on it then entraps me in some sort of in some difficulty of a sin. And he wants to still keep control of his nafs. इसलिए मैं उसको मुशक्कत में डाला रखूं. And it's because of this that I put myself in difficulty. I put my nafs in difficulty, and he lessens the food, he lessens the water, he controls his sleep, even the aram and the comfort that he has, he puts mujahada in himself in order to bring his nafs under qabu. मुझे ये ज़्यादा महबूब है. He says this is more beloved to me. इससे from that कि वो मुझे किसी गुनाह की हलाकत में डाल दे, that it throws me into some sort of sin. It comes about one of the mashaykh, I think he came about one of the mashaykh, I can't remember exactly who. He missed takbir ula, and because he missed takbir ula, straight after namaz he got up and he prayed 100 nafal. He prayed 100 nafal to punish himself, to bring himself under control. I know I was at home, I heard the adhan, I could have come to the masjid on time for the takbir ula, but because, you know, the comfort of the home, I became a little bit lazy. I came to the masjid. He got to the masjid, he got to the ruku, but even then, in order to bring his nafs under control, he then did 100 rak'at in order to punish his nafs and to bring it under control. And this is the discipline that's needed. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi then says, Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha farmati hai, Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she says कि सबसे पहली bid'at, that the first bid'at, the first innovation जो हुज़ूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के बाद पैदा हुई, that was created after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, वो पेट भरकर खाने की है, was eating to a person's stomachs full. जब आदमियों के पेट भर जाते, यानी the Arabs at that time, they would eat very little. It reminds me, Hazrat rahmatullah alayhi, Hazrat Maulana Abdul Hafiz Sahib rahmatullah alayhi says, you know, roughly about 1946, 45, Hazrat was born. Then they migrated over into Pakistan when partition took place. And then thereafter, Hazrat rahmatullah says that he was in Lailpur, which then became known as Faisalabad. And from Faisalabad, his father, Malik Abdul Haq Sahib rahmatullah alayhi, who was also a Khalifa of the Sheikh rahmatullah alayhi, he became very upset because they saw, you know, us guys living in Gujarat, we never saw our grandparents. I asked my dad, I said, did you hear about partition? You know, the difficulties of partition. Did you experience partition? But the border wasn't created there. The population exchange didn't take place in the areas of Gujarat. Our grandparents, great-grandparents, they never experienced it. You know, as they say, yeah. But in the Punjab, in the Bengal area, in the UP area, they experienced it. And you read about, you know, partition. It was a really terrible situation for those people. Allah give them respite. Malik Abdul Haq Sahib, he became very, he became very upset. He became very upset and he wanted to leave the country. So then he migrated to Makkatul Mukarramah. And Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi must have been very little at the time. I think it was about 1955 54, 55, round about this time, from what I could understand. Hazrat Rahmatullah says that he started there, and then the first school that he went to was Madrasa Saadiyah, which was still there. I saw it as well, not far from the Haram. And in Madrasa Saadiyah, he says that, he says in them days, the Arabs who used to live in Makkah to Mukarramah, and they had the Hadaris and the Badus. He said that the Badus and the people there, unka khorak bahut halka hota tha. He said their food was very little. They used to eat very little, a bit of cheese. If they got some rice, it didn't grow there. It used to come from outside. They used to eat a bit of bread. They might get some chicken here and there, olive oil, olives, bit of cheese, milk, and that was it. Very simple food. And he says that the people in them days were absolutely skinny, slim, very slim. And he said they were so slim, I remember, they used to wear the thobe, and you might have seen the Yemenis wear it, they used to wear a belt around their chest, around their stomach. Now you go into Al-Baik, and I calculated once, because I was obviously living there, I calculated Al-Baik, and I noticed that in the family sections, the space between a person's seat and the table, because they were screwed on tables, if you remember, the seats were slightly larger than you would get in a normal fast food joint in the UK. Why? Because they'd be double my size sitting there. 20 riyals, 2 people can eat aramti very well. Everything, Al-Baik, that's how much you could eat there. But the space between the bench and the table was actually slightly larger. So even the big fellows could actually slide in. But the point is that people used to eat very little. They used to eat very little. I don't even know why I was mentioning that. But, bidat was the food. They used to eat very little. And then the fast food joints started coming in and all the rest of it. But Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says that the first bidat that was created was eating to your full. And then she says, and then he says, Imam Ghazali says, commenting on this, कि जब आदमियों के पेट भर जाते हैं, when a person's stomach becomes full, तो उनके नुफूस दुनिया की तरफ झुकने लगते हैं, then the nafs and the carnal self starts inclining towards the dunya. और ये फ़ायदा जो जिक्र किया जा रहा है, एक ही फ़ायदा नहीं, बल्कि फ़वाइद का ख़ज़ाना है. And then he says that the benefit that's been mentioned here is not just one benefit, बल्कि फ़वाइद का ख़ज़ाना है, but it's actually a treasure trove of lots of benefits. And then he says, और उसमें कम से कम जो फ़ायदा, and the least benefit of remaining hungry is कि वो शर्मगाह की शहवत और फजूल बात की ख्वाहिश का छोड़ना है. That the smallest level of benefit that comes from this is that the shahwat and the carnal desire that's embedded in a person's private parts, he's able to bring that under control. He's able to leave that. Fuzul baat ki khaish, and the desire to speak and say things that's unnecessary, he's able to leave this. इसलिए कि भूखे आदमी का दिल फजूल बातें करने को नहीं चाहा करता. Because the person who remains hungry, he doesn't talk here and thither. He doesn't talk about this and that. He's focused on what he needs to do. His mind is focused. Then he says, और इसी एक बात की वजह से आदमी ग़ीबत से, झूठ से, फहश बात करने से, चुगली वगैरह बहुत सी चीज़ों से आदमी महफूज रहता है. Then he continues, says that when a person is hungry and he's bringing his nafs under control, the shahwat is under control, he's not talking too much, etc. And then by this he's able to safeguard himself from a lot of unnecessary conversations, and through this he's able to safeguard himself from ghibat, speaking bad about other people, from lying, speaking lies, fuhush baat, to speak vulgar, chugli, any to take from here, there, and stir the pot a little bit, etc. He's able to safeguard himself from all of this. और पेट भरने पर आदमी का दिल तफरी बातों को चाह करता है. And by fulfilling his stomach, a person wants to talk about this and that. He likes to enjoy in having a bit of a conversation. और आम तौर से हम लोगों की तफरी आदमियों की आबरूओं से ही होती है. And then he says that our pleasantries that we exchange with each other is usually about another third person. It's about backbiting about other person. Huzur sallallahu का पाक इरशाद है, नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम said कि जुबान की खेतियां ही आदमी को अक्सर जहन्नम में डालती है. He says that the harvest that's harvested from what's been sowed by the tongue, from the tongue, what the tongue actually says, and the harvest that it, the outcome of what we say, he says that in the majority, this is what throws a person into Jahannam. और शर्मगाह की शावत की हलाकत तो किसी से भी मख्फी नहीं. And then he says that the destruction that a person will experience because of the shahwat in his private parts, everybody knows what this is. और आदमी का जब पेट भरा होता है, and when a person's stomach is full, तो फिर शर्मगाह पर कुदरत दुश्वार हो जाती है. Then controlling his inner desires, his shahwat becomes very difficult. अगर अल्लाह के खौफ से आदमी उस पर कुदरत पा भी ले, if through the khawf and the fear of Allah Almighty, a person is able to control himself for a little while, तब भी आंख का गुना नाजायज़ तरीके से किसी मर्द या औरत या मर्द को देखना तो हो ही जाती है, and then हो ही जाता है. He says that even if a person is able to control his private parts, then the shahwat of the eyes, the zina of the eyes, a person becomes involved in that as well. This is one little paragraph and then we'll conclude. Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabi Karim sallallahu said कि आंख भी zina करती है, that person's eyes also commit zina. जैसा कि शर्मगाह zina करती है, in the way that the private parts also commit zina. और अगर आदमी आंख बंद करके उस पर भी कुदरत पा ले, and if a person wants to control his eyes and take control of this, तब भी जिसको देख चुका है उसका ख्याल तो दिल में आता ही रहेगा. Then the person that he's actually seen, the beautiful Hasina that he's actually seen, her beauty and image will be engraved inside his heart. और शहवत के ख्यालात हक़ ताला शान से मुनाजात की लज्जत को खो देते हैं. And he says then that when a person starts thinking about these impure thoughts, then what happens is the ladzat, the pleasure that a person should get from making dua, speaking to Allah Almighty, begging Allah Almighty, the pleasure that he should have, the intimacy that he should have with Allah Almighty, at that point he loses. और बसा औकात ये फासिद ख्यालात नमाज में भी आ जाते हैं. And then at times it so happens that these corrupt thoughts also appear and come to a person during salah. Zaban और शर्मगाह मिसाल के तौर पर जिक्र कर दिए. And then he says that by way of example, we've mentioned the zuban, the tongue, and we mentioned the private parts by way of example. वरना सातों आज़ा के सारे गुनाह उसी कुव्वत से पैदा होते हैं जो पेट भरने से हासिल होती है. Then he says, or else the सातों आज़ा के सारे गुनाह, that all the sins that can be committed by the 7 limbs of a person, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, the hands, the feet, etc., the private parts, सातों आज़ा के सारे गुनाह, all of the sins that are associated with these 7 limbs, इसी कुव्वत से पैदा होते, are created from the energy that comes from fulfilling the stomach with food. So the outcome of all of this is that a person should, as we mentioned last week, a person should eat with moderation. Eat with moderation. The stomach is not there to be full to the top, that we keep filling it till it protrudes out, and then it gets even further that we have to release a a person's belt a little bit and go a few sizes up. But rather the stomach, we say 1/3 for air, 1/3 for water, and 1/3 for food. But the reality is that even our stomachs are double the size of what they actually should be. So you're actually eating double what we're eating. But we need to lower it down slightly. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi in his Ihya Ulumuddin, in his Al-Arba'in, he mentions a very easy nuskha, a very easy methodology in order to control a person's food. And it's, a lot of these riyadat that you look at in tasawwuf and in disciplining the nafs is just like the exercises that a person does in the gym. Consistency is important. If you go to the gym, you work out for 2-3 hours one day, and then you don't go for a month, you're not going to see the benefit. So you got to do things bit by bit. And one of the things Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says to discipline the stomach and discipline how much you consume is just, if you're habituated to eating 2 chapatis a day, 2 aish, 2 khubz a day, 2 slices of bread a day, then instead of eating 2 slices, you eat 1 whole slice and maybe 3/4. You eat 1 morsel less. If you're used to eating 1 plate of khichdi and your khichdi is going to be roughly about maybe 12 or 13 lukmas, then instead of eating 13 lukmas, you bring it down to 12 for 1 week. Then you bring it down to 11. Then you bring it back down to 10. And bit by bit, you decrease your consumption to bring it under some sort of control. And once you've controlled it like that, then bit by bit, a person's consumption decreases, and then you're able to control the shahwat. Allah Almighty give me the tawfiq first and foremost before everyone else. I like my food, Allah forgive me. But Allah give me the tawfiq first and foremost. I address myself first, and inshallah, if you get the tawfiq, then also make dua for this one as well. Jazakumullah, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, shalla la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Inshallah, there'll be zikr for a little while. pray Hafiz Maulana. Allah. Bismillah. So every week on a Friday we have a Dhikr Majlis here. This is a loud Dhikr Majlis carried out by many of our Mashaykh of Tasawwuf and Suluk. There's a lot of young boys, young friends who have joined us today. They can participate, but they need to do it with respect. We're inside a masjid, so we have to remember the adab and the etiquettes of a masjid. And dhikr is very important because we're remembering Allah Almighty. So the name of Allah should be said with focus, tawajjuh, and with love for Allah Almighty. So and this zikr, the loud zikr that we do, should only be done here in this majlis. If you have the tawfiq to come again next week, then only here, but not at home and not individually, unless you've been given ijazat from one of your mashaykh. So we'll be doing zikr of La ilaha illallah. If you close your eyes and focus that there's only you and Allah Almighty. So you close your eyes for a little while and just focus, keep your eyes shut. Forget all your friends around you and all the people around you. It's only you and Allah. Because at the end of the day, we have to remember that there will be a time that sooner or later we'll all go in the grave. And when we go in the grave, there'll only be you and Allah. It's your amal, yourself, and what you did for in the dunya. Nothing else. So for a few minutes, close your eyes and think about this very carefully. Munkir Nakir will come. You'll be asked the questions. Who is your Lord? What is your deen? And who is your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And if you answer correctly, and you'll only be able to answer correctly if you've lived the life that you should have lived. If I've lived the life I should have lived. And if you don't answer correctly, then we're going to be in a pickle. So we close our eyes and we think about that time. And it's only through the fazl and karam of Allah Almighty, nothing else, that you'll be able to pass that little test. So inshallah we'll be doing 33 La ilaha illallah, 33 illallah, and 33 Allah. So first of all, very quietly, without speaking a noise, read Qul Huwallah 3 times. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Chalo. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So you're able to raise your voice and read together, keeping your eyes shut. And when you pray La ilaha, you're taking everything out of the heart. What does La ilaha mean? That there is no one worthy of worship. There is no God. So all the dirt in the heart, you take it out, you throw it away, and then you enter only Allah into your heart. So inshallah we'll do that together. But not too loudly. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La ilaha illallah, 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 لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الله 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 Allah, 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 Allah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakallah.